All right, we are live. We are here at Cameta Camera, and we have today the brand new Fujifilm X-T30. This will be launching on March 20th, and that will be available here, of course, at Cameta Camera for a very low, surprisingly low retail price of $8.99 for the body only. And if you want to get it bundled with this 15-45 lens, which off camera, that would be $9.99, and you can also get it with the 18-55 that's attached to this X-T3 for $12.99. So that is a great price for a great little compact camera that surprisingly has most of the functionality of the X-T3 just in a smaller package. So I've got John here from Fujifilm, and John, tell us a little bit more about this amazing little camera.
Okay, like you said, Nick, it is definitely like the little brother of the X-T3.
Yeah.
It has the same sensor and the same processor, 26 megapixels, 425 focusing points, and it's a back illuminated sensor, so it works much better than a lower light compared to the X-T2. It is smaller. Differences between the two are really not that much. The X-T3 is weather sealed, where the X-T30 is not.
Correct. 2
card slots, 1 card slots. Faster slink speed than this, 250th of a second, 125th of a second. The dials are a little bit different. We do not have the ISO dial here on the X-T30, but you can actually, through one of the program functions, you can just put the ISO wherever you want.
Okay, so obviously this is meant for to really get people into an interchangeable lens system, which is why the ISO dial isn't here. Most people aren't reaching for the ISO to begin with, unless you're, a professional shooter, which is why you have it here on the X-T3. Some other user-friendly things about the X-T30. Number one, the size. So this is portable. You can bring it pretty much anywhere. Most people who aren't used to an EVF, you've got a nice EVF here on the back that auto switches because it has a little sensor here.
Correct.
You've got a tilting screen that tilts up and down. So for family use, for use with pets, things like that, it's really easy to get down to eye level. And one of the things that's really nice that most people sort of take for granted is this little joystick. Now this is not only used for navigating menus, but for autofocus as well, right?
Yep.
So you can use that for autofocus. You said compared to the X-T3, you said it's like its little brother. So design-wise, it's pretty much the same. The feel is kind of the same, except it's just smaller.
It's just smaller. Like you said, it does have the joystick, which is a big change from the X-T10 and X-T20.
Right.
Which makes life a lot easier for me, so I know I'd probably use this more. It also has the auto switch, so it is a camera that you can really grow into.
Okay.
It has this little auto switch right here, so if you have to get the shot, or if you're with somebody who's not camera savvy,
show that right over
flip
here.
this switch right here. The camera does all the work for you.
There it is.
The other controls are like the rest of our X-Series cameras. The controls are external. You do have your shutter speed, your exposure compensation, and on this particular camera, you do have the aperture ring. And when the beauty of mirrorless cameras with the live view, as you're making changes to aperture and shutter speed, you're going to see what your shot looks like before you take the picture.
Yeah, that's really great, so that beginners can see what they're getting into when they're ready to take a shot, and they're not surprised by the final result. Yeah, that auto switch is something that we haven't seen before, and is a really nice thing to get people who aren't used to a camera with this much functionality and versatility to get them started. Another thing that we have here for beginners is, I don't know if I can, where's the switch for the flash?
Okay, it does have the hot shoe, and then it's this little switch.
There it is.
Just
okay, so you've got your built-in flash, which is something that professionals usually don't reach for, but for people who just want to bring along a tiny little camera, bring it to events, family functions, things like that, sometimes you just need that built-in flash, and this gives you that versatility as well as the hot shoe, so that's really nice.
Okay, it does also have the 3 focusing modes like the rest of our X-Series camera. It has single shot, autofocus, continuous focus, and manual focus. It also incorporates focus peaking. And the people who are familiar with Fujifilm, we do have our Fuji color incorporated into the chip. We're called film simulations, where it mimics a lot of our professional films such as Velvia, Provia, Astia. It also has the Acros and the Eterna film simulation, our Fujifilm cinematic mode too.
So for those of us who aren't familiar with all those terms, the film simulation basically is a digital representation of what old Fujifilm film stock used to look like. And all of those different terms, the Velvia, the Acros, things like that, those are all old film stocks, right?
Correct.
And then it's kind of like, to sort of dumb it down a little bit, kind of like Instagram filters in a way, sort of built-in digital filters, except because of the way the processor works, it looks a heck of a lot nicer.
Correct. Correct.
So, all right, the X system here is an aps-c. That's a crop sensor system where a lot of manufacturers are going full frame these days. Fujifilm is sticking with aps-c, and of course there's the medium formats as well.
Yes.
But for most consumers, they're going to be going with Fujifilm aps-c. What's the advantage? Obviously, the size is the main advantage, but what else does the aps-c offer?
The size is a big advantage because cameras are smaller and lighter.
For sure.
Also, is that our sensor is a little bit different than everybody else's. The competition uses something called the Bayer sensor. We use something called the X-Trans sensor, where we've been able to eliminate an extra layer of glass that is used to deal with moire patterns and boost resolution. So instead of our color pattern being 2x2, it's 6x6. So the actual color and the way the sensor is designed does mimic pretty close to full frame results, and the image quality from all Fuji X series cameras is pretty much outstanding as far as color and detail, dynamic range, and all those things that people really push for in full frame.
And one of the prevailing notions among photographers is that Fujifilm's color science is among the best, if not the best.
Correct.
And that comes from the sensor and the processor of the of Fujifilm X series cameras. So for those of you who don't do a lot of editing, if you don't edit your raw files, things like that, getting the JPEG straight out of camera with an X-T3 and or X-T30 in this case, you're going to get beautiful results right out of the camera.
Yeah, and it's funny too, in my own experiences, I'd find myself that I don't shoot raw that much anymore. I'm a former Canon person. With my Canon DSLRs, I used to shoot raw constantly.
Yep.
The Fuji JPEGs are really, really good. But also, if you want to shoot raw with Fuji, if you're familiar with Lightroom and Capture One, and if you wanted to try some of the film simulations under Adobe Color, in Lightroom, you could change your film simulations to your raw file in post-processing.
Very nice. All right, so is there anything we're missing here? How about video quality on this camera?
It's 4K video. It's 30 frames a second compared to the X-T3, 60 frames a second.
30 frames a second, though, that's still standard frame rate. So we're not cutting anything away from this. We're not going down to 24 or 15. You got 30, which is standard, and you're getting full 4K. That uses the entire sensor?
Correct.
The entire aps-c sensor?
It's 100% of the sensor. It has the same amount of focusing points as our medium format system, 425 focusing points.
So you get plenty of autofocus capability, and one thing that we like to show off in the store is eye autofocus, and the X-T30 has that as well.
Yes, it has face and eye detection autofocus. That has been improved over the X-T3, and I believe there's going to be a firmware update for the X-T3 to bring it up to par with the X-T30.
Okay, so at launch, the cheaper camera actually has better autofocus than the more expensive one. Nice. So that's a good incentive for people. All right, so we mentioned the size before. We've got something pretty small attached to this camera. This is a brand new lens. This is a 16 millimeter. I'll just take this off so I can demonstrate the size of this. This is a 16 millimeter 2.8. So Fuji already has a 16 millimeter 1.4, and I believe that's about $800.
Correct.
This one's going to be half the price.
Yeah, $399.
And for most people, when you're shooting wide, a 2.8 is going to be certainly bright enough and give you enough depth of field to accomplish what you want. And this is going to be a really great lens for people who are missing a wide-angle prime in their system. Anything to add, John?
No, it's just another addition to our F2 system. We have the 23, the 35, and the 50, and they're all weather-resistant lenses. I know the body on the X-T30 is not weather-resistant, but they're all very fast lenses, and they're all weather-resistant, and the autofocus is a lot faster than on some of our other prime lenses.
So this is going to be a very popular lens for people who have already invested in the system. And
great for street shooting.
Absolutely great for street shooting. And then if you don't have something like this and you want to go even smaller, you've got Pancake lenses like this 27 right over here.
The 18 is also very much a Pancake. There's about 30 lenses in the line now. I know it's kind of hard to see here, but on the mat here is what our current line is of lenses. They're all here except the new 16 millimeter, but as you can see, we go from 14 millimeter primes out to a 200 millimeter F2. So.
And with a 200 millimeter, you're getting an equivalent focal length of
320, over 300. And then if you add a teleconverter on it, it's a 600 millimeter lens, either the 1.4 or the 2X.
So the X system is definitely mature at this point, and one of the only things that was missing was an affordable wide-angle prime, and here it is.
Yeah.
And it is definitely small enough to pair well with a camera body as compact as the X-T30. And I think this is going to do really well. This is something that, if you had been interested in the X-T3 and it was just a little bit too much for your wallet, then the X-T30 gives you pretty much everything that the X-T3 offers with just a little bit less functionality, but really, in the end, not all that much.
Okay. It's also going to be available in the,
By the way,
black.
mic port, just in case. It's a 2.5. You'll have to adapt it, but it does have a microphone port, which a lot of cameras in this price range don't offer.
So it's going to be available in 3 colors. This is right here is the charcoal. It's going to be available in black, silver, and charcoal. The black and the silver will be available on March 20th, and the charcoal will probably be available later on this spring, probably towards mid to end of June.
Okay.
But they're all the same price, $8.99 for the body.
And the lens as well will be available March 20th.
And then we are offering also, if you want to go with any of the other f2 lenses, there is a $300 instant rebate for the body and one of the other f2 lenses, so that brings it down to about $1049.
So there it is, the X-T30, available March 20th. Of course, you can get it bundled with the 15-45 for just $9.99. You can get it bundled with an 18-55 over there for $12.99. And the body itself just starts at $8.99. So that's a really great price for a really nice, very compact, very powerful camera that has excellent autofocus, above and beyond so far what Fujifilm has already introduced in some more expensive cameras, which is pretty amazing to hear. So get your X-T30 as well as your 16mm 2.8 lens at Cameta Camera on March 20th. We'll have them here in stock. We'll have the black one, we'll have the silver one, and then later on in the year we will have the charcoal gray, which you see before you. So plenty to choose from, and you can get it all here at Cameta Camera. Thanks for watching.